Well, welcome today. We've got a very special guest on, Dasun from DAS CX. I've got that right, mate, haven't
You
I?
did. You did.
Yeah, very good. And this is an interesting area. Obviously, everyone talks about AI, but today we're talking about something that is uh, really particular to small business. We get asked all the time, what's happening with AI? I did a presentation to an organisation last week, and obviously, what's happening with AI? How can I apply it? And my answer is often, that it's very exciting. There's a lot of developments, but the real life application to reduce process, gain efficiencies, and what have you can be a little bit of a minefield, particularly for small, medium, and mid cap businesses. And that's the reason why we've got you on, Dasun, because your platform and organisation is doing some very exciting things, particularly in the strata management space, which can be applied, and the theories can be applied across the board to actual real actionable outcomes that is producing some good results. So thanks for coming on, mate. Tell us a little bit about. Let's hit it straight head on, and then we'll expand on it. Tell us a little bit about Merlo AI and the essence of what it does.
Well, thank you very much, Tom, for having me. And very kind to invite me over. Look, Merlo AI is a AI platform that I built myself at the beginning, and now I have a team of people who actually keep working on it, improving it. What we do is we help strata businesses with automating through AI. Bring AI to help them to manage more properties with less effort and without having a large team. So we're focusing on the time factor, the cost factor, and help them to bring this one single product to automate some of the key strata workflows and emails. So those are the two pain points that a lot of strata managers go through. So our focus is those two areas, and we help them to get AI agents in to reduce that workflow. So
And it's an industry that it's hugely administrative heavy. I mean, for the viewers, it's going to be, obviously they know that better than anyone, and certainly better than myself. And we assist a lot of strata management companies in their IT journey, and we do that and specialise in that. But talk us through some specifics. We'll get, there's a lot to get to, but just as a highlight, in terms of some of the specific, process automation that you help people with, and we can expand on that
100%.
further.
So you were spot on when you said a lot of the very very manual heavy organization strata, because my background, I'm from FMCG and automotive. There's a very technologically advanced industries. So my journey in strata is not that long as well. I'm only been there for about 1.5 years now. But coming from that industry, like I have 25 years of experience in that space, coming in here, and I'm like, this is actually a really good opportunity for me to use what I learned in those industry and bring it here. And especially at the same time, I was working very much in AI, building my AI product. So when I saw like key process, how much time they spending with regards to responding to emails, number one. And then processes like work order management. From the beginning of like generating work orders to follow-ups of work orders. AGM process, the annual general meeting process, it's such a massive time-consuming task for strata managers. There are lovely tools like Strata Vote, things like that, and a lot of systems that they use in the business. They do support them, but overall process, if you start from beginning to end, there's a lot of opportunities there to automate. That they have nobody even like spoken to these people and said, look, this is what can be done. Insurance renewal process is one thing, and then you have this compliance process, like where you have to do it, like your fire safety, your lift registration, pool registration, all those things. They're very manual heavy. Strata businesses today, the only way for them to scale is go hire VAs, because the strata manager is inundated with all these admin tasks. The only way they can get that number, manage more properties, is to offload some of them into VAs. And that's a massive cost, and that's a very old school way of running a business. So what we want to do is like bring the automation capability, especially with AI agents and things like that. So instead of a strata manager on their own can handle maybe 30 to 40, 50 plans. We just want to get it up to maybe 100, 150 with the help of AI and automation. So that's pretty much what we offer. That's pretty much something I'm extremely excited about, because everywhere I go, I hear about Strata industry needs about 1,000 people, or Strata managers, things like that. The numbers like that, they throw numbers around. And when I look at the industry, it's a very manual heavy industry. With automation, you may end up with a surplus. So,
Yeah.
so the thing is, if you can like go and talk to this business and help them out. So my target this year is to help 1,000 Strata managers. So we want to make sure the Merlo touches 1,000 Strata managers and help them to elevate some of those admin tasks. And don't have to do really fancy things, but through process automation, having an AI agent who can help them with their, let's say we reduce 50% of that admin task. That's a massive saving for a Strata manager who's running a small business, who wants to manage more properties, and also spend more time building that relationship with people, because that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
So that's basically the areas we are focusing on. If I really like hone it down, I'd say our focus is we have AI agents who can act like your Strata assistant. So you can offload some of your tasks and they'll go and get it done. The dear friends company is using that right now. It's been very positive, the team. Then we have the AI email assistant who can read your emails and respond to them with your information, your data, connects to your system, whatever the system you have, we can do that. And then those processes, like key process like AGM process, work orders, compliance, various process within compliance, and insurance renewals and things like that. So that's, I think, if you can target that, that's which is our target, you can substantially reduce the workload that you have to do around your business.
Interesting. Talk us through two processes. I know that, I'm just picking out two, but two fairly heavy ones just from observation in dealing with a lot of Strata businesses is maybe the first one, which is emails. If I'm an owner in a plan and I email in looking for my renewal notice, lost it. Talk us through what your process and your system could do to alleviate, that process. Owner emailing in, requiring a statement. How do you automate that process, and what's the outcome?
So look, email agents, when you deploy that, it's the beauty is, think of it as you hiring somebody to help you responding to email. You give it a procedure saying this is where to go and get your information. This is how I want you to draft the email. So when the email comes in, let's say the basic email, can you give me a copy of my bylaws for my Strata plan? System will go on wherever you have your bylaw document, whether it can be your Strata system, whether it can be a SharePoint drive, whether it can be some network drive. We, during the training process, will tell the agent, just like a new employee that we hire, this is where you go for this information, this is where you go for this document, this is where you go for this kind of information. So it's been trained to do that. So when the email comes, it reads the email and go, all right, this is what I need to do. It's going to go and pick up that file, correct plan. And let's say the person said, I need the Strata plan, and it comes with their email address. We always go and use that email address to see what's the Strata plan for this email address for this owner, or it's a property manager or an agent. We find out the Strata plan, we go and get the right document, and just we email it back. So if the Strata manager or some team member has to do it, that may take about 5 to 10 minutes if they know it's perfect. But we all know when you draft an email, it takes time. So that's how the agent would do. So that's a very basic response. The other one would be somebody saying, I have a broken bulb in my hallway. When the email comes in, email agent has a team of agents around working with them. So we have one who's really good at work orders and things like that. So this agent will say, look, this is a work order. I want the work order agent to go and raise the work order. So the work order goes and find who's the preferred contractor who does so, whether it's a handyman or whoever it is for that kind of a job, go and create that job. And also at the same time, it goes and respond to the client saying, thank you, and whatever it is. So it doesn't do that straight away based on certain rules. We can say, for this property, these are the rules you need to follow, things like that. So that's how an email agent would work. It can be something just back and forth, like a direct response, or it can be something like a follow-up. Somebody coming back to that same person, maybe in a 2 weeks time, coming back and asking, hey, I asked you to replace the bulb, but what's happening with it? So it can actually go back and figure out what happened to that work order, and then come back and say, look, this is where we at with it. And also same time, send an email to the handyman or whoever's doing that job saying, what's going on with this job? Can you please let me know? Things like that. So you can configure that whole process. But I think the biggest thing is, before we always focus on the more complex one, a lot of strata managers do get quite a lot of emails on those basic things, like, as you know,
we often see strata managers as a subset of our client base, and they're often people that receive the most amount of email out of any of our client verticals. The volume of email is staggering per head, per capita.
100%. That's why we want to, like, when I saw that, I'm like, that's a problem. But it's a very complex actor to automate, because the emails can be very, very different. And most of these emails, you still need strata managers input. So when a situation like that, what the AI agent does, it collects all the information, supporting information, and draft the email for the strata manager instead of responding to the user. For an example, we can set rules for a dispute related email, not for the agent to automatically reply to it, but it draft the email with all the information and send it to the strata manager saying, hey, this is all the information there, please do it. Because the thing is, let's say you have a strata manager, a business with so much compliance document from their legal team, that strata manager has to go and validate, and that takes a lot of time. But what the agent can do is, it can, within few minutes, it can go and read everything, collect all the relevant information, give that to the strata manager saying, based on these, this is what I found, this is how it looks like, this is what happened 6 months ago with this property. Please alter this email and send it. Things like that. So that's the other way we can help strata managers. Example, we have a South Australian client that when we first went to them, I said, look, our target is within 6 months, we want to automate at least 70% of your emails. He said, if you can do 30%, that's a game changer for us. So because we're talking about the email that distracts them, like people asking for 184 certificate, section 22 related information, like people sending section 22s without email addresses. So you have to have go follow up saying, hey, do you have an email? Things like that. You can automate that entire thing. Compliance.
Just automating, Dasun, the as you make a good point, is, this applies to a lot of businesses, but being able to be in a position as a strata manager to actually execute on the request, regardless of automation, but taking care of that initial back and forth, going, hold on a minute, well, you're requesting X, Y, and Z. I actually need, A, B, C to be able to even commence. Stripping that out is a major win.
One great example there. 184 certificates or OC certificates. When they send the request, you have to raise an invoice. So a lot of time you have to raise an invoice for that. A lot of time people have to send it to their invoice team so they can insert it to their Xero, QuickBooks, or whatever the system, or send a manual bank details. So we can automate that entire process. When the email comes in, you just respond to it with whatever that your banking details for them to do the deposit, or you can actually train the agent to go and create an invoice within your accounting system and then send that invoice back to the user. So it only comes to strata manager when it's ready to validate, review, and sign off. So that's what it is. So otherwise, if you are a strata manager who's running your own business by yourself, you have to do all those steps. So that's where you're leaking a lot of time and effort.
Well, and you can imagine just even a small leakage of non-billing in some of these cases is phenomenal. Mate, take us through some of the in regards to compliance. Obviously, again, hugely compliance and insurance. I mean, I speak of this just through observation. I have no fear. We don't come at it as knowing the strata industry inside out and back to front, but we obviously, we look after the cybersecurity, the daily support, and introduce our starting to introduce our strata companies to people like you to go to that next level rather than just reactive support. But talk us through some of that's another two big areas: compliance and insurance. Talk us through some real life
Yeah.
benefits and what you're doing there.
So with regards to compliance, that's a very exciting area because you have lot of people get involved in that process. So if you look at a fire safety one, every business have this process where they go and check if the fire safety compliance, are they compliant? If not, when it needs to be action, when it needs to be when you have to send the person to review it and get the report, whether to get that tick, compliance tick.
Yep.
So that's a manual process. And then when they actually go and do that review and give you the final report, you have to review that report and validate which ones are mandatory, which ones are optional, and then you have to send it to the committee, draft a lot of emails, a lot of summarization of that information. And then once that's done, once that's approved, you have to go and raise work orders and things like that for those things. So if you look at that process itself, imagine instead of you having to do that, you have an AI agent whose job is to monitor what's coming up for renewal or compliance checks. And then it organizes the person to go in and do that safety check. Then when the report comes in, it reviews the report, summarizes the reports, highlights which ones are mandatory, which ones are not, and draft the letters to the committee members, send them the email and wait for their responses. When the response comes in, it collates all the stuff, and based on those instructions, it goes and generates work orders, all while keeping the strata manager in the loop through either a Teams messaging or through email copying, whatever it is. And it will log all those steps as well for audit purposes. If somebody will come and see what happened with this process, it'll do all that. So that entire process can be automated. Same story with pool registration, lift registration. When that email comes in from wherever it is, council, whatever the council it is, you read that email and you take necessary steps and let people know. One of the biggest things we actually look at is every startup business has an Excel file with that information. That is an amazing thing. Like that's like, I know when I walk into a company, there's 100% chance they have an Excel file with this information, even if they have the best strata system. When they have one for AGM scheduling, one for either insurance renewal, one for claim, work orders, and these compliance ones. Everybody have at least one of them. So it's pretty much, you can keep your Excel, instead of somebody going through it, you can have an AI agent run that process. Whether it's in an Excel file, whether it's in SharePoint list, whether it's in your Strata system, we can get that entire process offloaded to an AI agent, which is much more accurate. And also, it's much more efficient because you don't pay it by the hour. And the other thing, it just works 24/7. And you can give it other tasks as well. The same agent who run your insurance renewal can be running your compliance checks during the day. Things like that, while it waits for insurance renewal emails to come from a broker to start that process. Or if you don't receive an insurance renewal notice from the broker, and this one is maybe due to expire in 6 weeks' time, whatever that number, it'll initiate that process. So similar to that, the insurance renewal emails, when the email comes in with the quotation, it'll review everything, look for any discrepancies in the proposal. And if there's anything, it'll draft that email and send it to the broker back saying, hey, look, this one doesn't sound right, or there's some issues like that. So the strata manager doesn't have to do it. And again, similar to that, it will
Wonderful.
draft emails to the committee. We are also working on another new feature that we're going to release. I'm very excited about giving the agent to run ballots and track ballots. So instead of somebody manually having to insert a ballot into a system or something like that, we just have the AI agent doing all that stuff and running the ballot and coming back to the Strata manager and saying it's done. So that's where it's heading. It's more like instead of you manually having to do it, you just have an AI assistant to do that work for you.
Incredible. We've seen, we're obviously working with some of our clients and seeing these advancements. And I'll also preface it with the fact that, obviously this is a big change for people. Like, they're sort of like, well, there's a lot of factors that come into this, but we're seeing that with it's freeing the people up in businesses to be able to do what, ultimately everyone wants to provide the best service and grow, amongst other things. But, like we all want to be the best in, if you own a business and run it and you're a small, medium-sized business, you want to grow your business and you want to grow your business doing it through, great service. And being stuck behind a computer doing administrative tasks.
Look, I've come across both sides. Like you have business owners who want to grow their business, and then you have people who are actually so much happy about just looking after their current portfolio and then charging the
For sure.
client $80 for that email they spend 1.5 hours writing. So it actually doesn't matter. What it actually gives them is the opportunity to spend more time doing whatever they love doing, because then if you don't like to do the admin task or something, you can offload it. But if you still enjoy it, you can still do it. But the thing is, it comes down to whether you want to grow your business or not. So that's that.
And it also opens the other thing that I have been thinking, Dasun, is that it opens the industry to almost a different personality type, or sort of working type of person. People that are people, and that are probably not as finessed on the administrative day-to-day tasks. This is opening the industry to those people because they're just not. You don't have to. As an owner of a business or what have you, you can take a lot of this administrative task and let those people that are not amazing administratively at the committees and growth and business development, whatever. So it's really, really exciting. Talk to us through, mate, what your background is and how you, and right through to how you started this AI company and the product Merlo AI.
Man, I'm a big geek. So
Surprise, surprise.
I've started playing with computers since I was 13, and I've been doing development since I was maybe 14. So started with C,
Wow.
started working when I was 18. Joined a big IT software company in Sri Lanka who was working on big projects in the US and stuff. I've been a developer since I think 2012. Mostly .NET and C Sharp. But I always liked the client interaction part more than the development part. I was pretty good at development, but I always enjoyed the early stages and the later stages of a project where you interact a lot with the clients and stuff. So I moved to a BA role, business analyst role, and I loved it. But I never let my software development skill go away, so I kept tinkering on new technology, whatever that came back. So 2000 and I think 16, I came across this platform called Hugging Face. So they're more like the very early stages of AI testing repository.
All right.
So all the universities and things like that, when they build AI tools, they uploaded it there, and a lot of people were testing those things. Because around 2014, when I was working for Treasury Wines, I came across how much the customer service team struggles with repetitive inquiries and things like that. So I always convinced that there was a better way of doing something like that. So it started with experimenting with building chatbots. So those days, the chatbots were very procedural. Like you give it like 5 answers, and then you, based on that, you figure out what's the pathway to follow, whether the user's asking
Sure.
for an order update or whether it's a invoice related thing and things like that. So I always felt as that you need a better what you call natural language understanding model in place in order to build a chatbot, so you can have a normal conversation. So that pretty much started, and it evolved into different versions of it. And then along came GTP3 from OpenAI, and then after that we jumped into the whole chatbot thing. And because I was mostly working on projects related to CRMs and ERPs, I was more convinced that the pathway I want to take is about how these chatbots can interact directly with IT systems within a business. So instead of just talking and communication, just how we can respond to leads or log leads and things like that, the basic things that sales assistant would do. So kept playing around with it, and then obviously in 2020, when the COVID hit, gave me a lot of time to play around with it a lot more than the normal. So every time the time I spent right into work ended up being my coding time. So started my consulting firm, CX. We obviously started as a business analyst firm because I was a BA there. A few friends of mine, like the people I used to work with, they said, look, they're doing a big transformation project, because digital transformation used to be my thing. So I've done a lot of
Right.
large scale transformation and strategy work for a lot of business. So I went into that one. And I always knew I want to commercially promote this product, because I knew when I started working on it, there's something I'm building, and I knew this can work in a business setting. So not from a fun, fancy, but when it's come to operational efficiencies, I knew it's going to work. So that's been my focus. So the Merlo today is pretty much all around focusing on business improvement of process automation, process improvement, and that's what it is. So the Strata story came about a year ago, a little bit more than a year, where we came across a big Strata franchise in Victoria. We want to help them with, they wanted some help with rolling out their solution, their cloud solution. So went into it,
Yep.
and I'm very curious about new industries, because I've spent about 15 years in FMCG. So I started learning about the Strata industry, what's going on and things like that. Then I felt like there's a massive gap in that space, especially when it's come to technology adoption. And I don't think digital transformation ever touched the Strata industry. I think it
100%.
just went past by. So pretty much I looked at that and go, all right, we have to go into it. And I honestly, I'm very honest with this when I say, like, uh, startup is my blue ocean strategy for me and my business. So, and I love doing that. It made me feel like when I first went into automotive industry, you see this lot of paper-based organizations that I spent 7 years just automating. So so that's the story.
The key thing to it too, Dasun, is that this doesn't require you to go in and change, from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you're using Strata Master or whatever platform you're using, you're coming in and essentially process automation, leveraging AI and connecting systems together to leverage all their information. And that's really important to a lot of Strata managers, because any Strata manager that we have worked with and have gone through a change of platform, you know, just set aside regardless of size, if you're 40, 50 seats, you know, obviously, even if you're 40 or 50 seats, the level of plans and lots just manually goes up. These are big changes in organisations. And, that was some organisations were doing this change in order to gain the efficiencies to go, okay, well, we're moving to this because of X, Y, and Z and these integrations and all that sort of stuff. This sort of changes that game to a degree, doesn't it?
100%. Look, absolutely. We don't want to be that one platform that's gonna do it. We want to work with companies like Strata Master, PIQ, and whoever else like in the industry, because obviously we are a solution that AI platform. So we are not a Strata management platform. We are an AI platform.
Yeah.
So whatever those businesses use, we just want to make it improve it, that process. So we are working with both few startup softwares, and few organizations have their own platforms. The key thing is to work with these platforms and make sure that they have adequate API capability and things like that, so their clients can leverage the power of AI to improve what they do. It's what it is. It's a specialty thing, and we just that extra layer that's going to sit on top of your Strata system and then help you to get more work done.
Wonderful. Talk us through. Obviously, we've been working with you guys as as a what we call ourselves managed service provider, looking after all the IT. So we're all about getting a Strata manager to best practice standards in terms of personal identifiable information, which Strata managers hold a lot of. So the cybersecurity around that and the core processes. So leveraging Microsoft 365 and all those platforms around it, SharePoint, interaction between that. And then we're working with you to end off and take that to the next level. We don't pretend to be AI specialists in terms of the development of an interaction of systems. Talk us through, I can talk to you, but you're best to answer in terms of client engages with you and what that process looks like. We're I wouldn't say heavily involved, but you certainly need a provider that is, giving myself a bit of a pat on the back, but you need a provider that is, not a reactive provider, and you need someone that knows what's happening. But talk us through that process of sort of bringing your client on board and what needs to be done to sort of start to build out the model and the processes and get to a point where you're, seeing benefit and time reduction and process improvement.
No, 100%. Look, the process is pretty straightforward. Most of the core models, the systems, the agents, they all have the general knowledge on how Strata works, and based on the role that they play, they all have their knowledge already within their platform, within the agent. So what we do is whenever a client comes in, we give them a demo, we show them how it works, and then we have a discovery, a very express short discovery where we want to know how they do things today. Because with regards to AI or any other project, we pay quite a lot of attention into change management, and the organization understand what's the organization's appetite for AI as well. That's the only way we can get it to be very successful. So we have to make sure that we understand their current appetite, how familiar are they with how the workings of the AI, and what's the appetite of the leadership team. We do an express discovery to understand that, as well as how they do things. What's the nature of the emails they get? Because every Strata manager Strata business is very different when it comes to certain things. They all may be using one same system, but the things that they do outside are very different. So we want to understand those small things, because our platform is extremely configurable for that reason. So we want to identify them, and then we have a 6 to 8 week implementation process, where the first 4 weeks is pretty much around configuration. Then the next 4 weeks is around trialing, on-site trialing, just to perfect it. Look at the emails, look at how the agent responds, look at the outputs coming in from the internal system. Look at the client, different types of inquiries coming in and how it behaves with them. things like that. And then we bring in also, we have those fixed processes around the AGM process, that's a fixed built-in process, work order processes, insurance renewal process. We need to know like who's their brokers, what are their primary insurance companies, things like that. So that all those things are pretty much starts with the discovery. Discovery is about 1 to 2 weeks that we do a express level. And then after that, it's just a continuous improvement. So we have a 3-month continuous improvement program for every client. So that's pretty much, so you can call it a hypercare period, where not just we look after what we build, we always consistently look at improving, because obviously our, I want to make sure that Merlo is the best solution globally for Strata and boutique corporate. So we always want to learn, we want to improve it as much as we can. So that's the
Yeah,
process.
it's wonderful. And I can say through my team, not that I've been directly involved, but you know, your willingness and passion to understand people's businesses, and an understanding that, as you rightly point out, every single business applies. You know, where they're all, broadly speaking, trying to achieve the same things in terms of whatever area it may be, admin, compliance, all those areas, but they're all doing it totally different. So that's a big thing with you guys, is understanding how you get from A to B and what that process is, because it is different. Before we wrap up, talk to us what you're seeing, I suppose, in this space, but how you're applying it to AI. Well, what's coming? I mean, it's just moving rapidly. Even in the last few days, as we sit here on the tail end of January, there's been huge announcements with AI out of China and all that sort of stuff. That's DeepSeek. That's probably fairly fresh, but where do you see sort of the next frontier for peaking in the future?
I think the AI, the whole DeepSeek one, is extremely exciting when you look at it, because the mainly being that was a side gig for those guys, and it's as good as some of the top tier models that we are looking at from OpenAI and others. Because if you really be honest, OpenAI is pretty much the king when it's come to LLMs. Others are catching up. But when you look at DeepSeek, it's actually really good. For me, in several terms, one is it's open source. So it's really good for the open source community, because the Facebook's Llama 3 was actually a decent open source model. So DeepSeek being open source as well, really good for the industry. And the costing. The costing is, if you look at for million tokens, ChatGPT 4.0 model is about $2.50, and I think this is about 15 cents. So that goes into
big difference in pricing.
And that's where the mini Open 4.0 mini lands, that level. But the capability is extremely different. So for a business, if you're actually doing so much, like our agents handle about 30,000 transactions every day, things like that. So it's massive. But will I ever go to an open source platform? Not anytime soon, because I really like, we work with a lot of Microsoft infrastructure, so everything's Azure based, everything, because I always was very strictly focusing on the corporates and security, data security. With Microsoft, I know they're not going to reuse anything that we put into their VLLMs for training.
It's a big issue, this.
And I can say that straight away to my clients. If I go with open source and stuff like that, I don't know about that. Today it's this. Next week, it can be something completely different. So that's the risk there. But it's amazing for the industry as a whole. So that's what I want to say about DeepSeek. With relates to the overall industry, I think we are going into more agentic approach. AI agents, creating those AI-based workforce is the future. So if you look at people like Mark Benioff from Salesforce, Satya Nadella from Microsoft, and all those people are talking about agents because that's where it's heading. If you look at all the technology platforms coming out, they're very agentic focused. Even OpenAI recently released this operator model, very agentic model. That's where it's heading. So it's and that's where we are going as well. So we are focusing on, like, for the last 6 months, we've been doing quite a lot of development work to make Merlo AI act like an standalone agent, doing certain things, tasks autonomously without a lot of supervision and things like that. So
Yeah.
I think it's really hard to say what's going to be in the next 2 years or something, but I think,
Well, we didn't know what this with DeepSeek was
yeah,
happening last week, or not people in the industry, but in terms of the open market, I mean, it develops so quickly. A few of the other things that we're seeing are not directly related to you, but we're seeing as a big thing in terms of sentiment analysis, in terms of calls and emails. You probably do the email component, but we're seeing advancements that we can deploy in regards to putting in a telephony system that can be used anywhere. Obviously, voice is still a big component of particularly in the strata industry, where a lot of the demographic of owners can be older. They still like to telephone in and analysing sentiment across that. Upset customers, what are they asking? Why are they asking? Times a day, all this analysis, which we can now do and input, OpenAI into the telephony system to analyse this data. I do preface that this is compute, what we refer to as compute heavy. So it's taking an enormous amount of computing resources. It's not cheap, but people are doing it. We're doing it just to see in brief periods of what the sediment is. Give it some data for a month and see what it is, and then make some business improvement changes and do it again. And then some of the really advanced organisations with bigger budgets are doing full time on real analysis. So it's changing all the time, and that's only going to get better. We could go through a lot, and I'd be keen to probably keep this forum open, particularly for strata managers, because it's exciting. It's a small industry in sense of, well, it's big, but it's in terms of its everyone knows everyone. I like to say. So it's important to keep people updated, and we will do that. How can people reach out to you? Obviously, us as a service provider, if you're in the strata management industry and you're looking for someone that's proactive to look at things like your platform, get your cybersecurity updated, get amazing levels of service. I'm still amazed that in our space, we provide live chat support via Microsoft Teams and Slack. Getting support for a strata manager is important because, I say this to a lot of people, take away a laptop or the internet for a strata manager, apart from a few calls, and you probably can't even make a few calls, you can't do a hell of a lot. So getting access to support in real time is hugely important, which we do. And then obviously leveraging organisations like yourself. Tell us, how can people get in contact with Dasun?
Yeah, no, look, that's spot on. Look, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm active on LinkedIn, Dasun Premadasa. It's a long name. You can always visit Merlo.ai. That's our product site, and we
encourage people to get out and create an appointment, and do a demo.
100%.
It's we're starting to just, and that's the whole reason why we're doing this podcast, is to start to go out to people that have not looked at this stuff and say, look, at least look at this, because my gut feel, sort of looking into the future, is that for organisations that don't look at this, they probably will be left behind.
100%.
And I think that's a term and a sort of a sentence that gets thrown out into the ether quite a bit, but I genuinely do think that it's what will happen.
I took about 4 months or so to think, is this one of those trends just going to come and just dial out? But it's
not when we see the results people get.
It's because it has So I was in an argument with one of my friends about the Bitcoin blockchain technology. Technology is good, but it's not like this. This is more like electricity. It's gonna be
Yeah.
something that's gonna be around forever, and it's
And then
gonna
the
keep
internet. Yep.
evolving. So thank you very much, mate, for having me.
No, I appreciate you coming on. Well, obviously it's changing rapidly, so we'll have you on for maybe smaller bite-sized pieces as the time goes on. Keep people in this industry, and of course, for people that are not in Strata Management and listening, this is the kind of we're doing more of these series because there's, as I said at the top of the program, we're seeing a lot of people come to us and say, "Well, this AI thing, am I missing out? And how do I apply it?" And Copilot and Microsoft Copilot and ChatGPT, it's all amazing stuff, but for a lot of people, yet they can't apply that in their business. But it's organisations like yourself that have built custom platforms on top of this amazing technology that can provide actionable integration into systems, reduction of workflow, and improvement of workflow, improvement of accuracy. And we're excited. We're excited to be partnered in a partnership of sorts. We don't necessarily get anything out of recommending you, and nor do we want to. But it's a big advancement for our clients, and we see it as a relationship that will prosper. So again, thanks for coming on. We'll link all your details in all the posts, and if you're a client of ours, reach out to a relationship manager, and we can put you in touch. And if you're a new client, we're happy to discuss your IT needs and develop that relationship with Merlo AI and Dasun. So, mate, thanks again, and look forward to speaking with you soon.
Thank you, Tom. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, mate.